Genetically modified food are engineered. That is basic. Then 2, for you to identify it, if it is not labeled, you cannot identify it. Do you know why? Because it's a weapon of destruction. I think during COVID-19, I was the Nigerian professor who declared COVID-19 after 2 days. When World Health Organization declared COVID-19, I was the professor of science who declared COVID-19 as a scam. And I did warn that after COVID, another one will come. And here we are, GMO. GMOs, unless they are labeled, you cannot identify them. Go to your Google and find out samples of GMO. You will see ordinary fruit of tomatoes. Then what you see, they will describe is an injection syringe that carries whatever is the material that they are infusing in it. And let nobody be deceived here. There is no way they can engineer genetic product and put inside. It's not genetic product. They are heavy metals. And those heavy metals are geared towards population control. So we must insist that they must label. If they don't label it, you cannot identify it. Then when you eat and die, like he has confirmed.
All right, thank you. And to also answer a question, we need to call on the FCCPC to enforce the labeling laws, because that's the organization responsible for protecting the consumers. We have strong labeling laws in this country that are not being enforced. And you see, the thing about labeling is this: Nigeria has not matured to the point that labeling can really work. So we are not actually matured. We are not at the point where we should be embracing GMOs in this country. And that is the long and short. You asked the question about the effects. Are we already seeing the effects? The answer is yes. If you read a report from Business Day, 23rd of September, the Cotton Farmers Association said that when they embraced BT cotton, the seeds were 15,000 naira per kg to plant. To plant. Now it's currently 55,000 naira per kg, and you need 4 kg for a hectare. Do the maths. That's 220,000 naira to plant on 1 hectare of farm. Which smallholder farmer can afford that? And they also complained, the cotton farmers also complained that their grounds are now bare, are now barren. They can no longer plant natural seeds of any kind on that ground. And the same farmers also complained that they are not seeing the yield that they were promised. And there's enough history in India to support, because a lot of farmers committed suicide. Cotton farmers committed suicide in India. And that is the trajectory that the cotton farmers in Nigeria were going, and they cried out in that article. You can check it, 23rd of April, 23rd of September in Business Day report.
In addition to what he has said, if you are a farmer, this is research we have seen, you no longer see earthworms. You no longer see termites everywhere. These are the pulverizers. These are the ones that create air pores underneath the soil, so the roots can get enough. These things have been taken out by this ubiquitous application of pesticides and what they call fertilizers, which are really not fertilizers. So these are the effects that are already happening on our ecosystem.
Thank you. So round up now. Okay, last question. All right. Telomeres and the rest of them, BT cotton and the rest of them. Check it. They have a workflow. If you need the funds that they were giving, I have the figures to the T of how much they were giving for all of these things. You saw the president of Kabir Ibrahim, the president of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Go and check the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Type All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Type the organization there. They were giving $1.4 million. So you can check. Type OFAB inside Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Type AATF inside Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Download the report. You will see how much they were giving for the promotion of biosafety, for the promotion of biotechnology. You will see all the courses they go to do in all the foreign universities. You will see all the fundings for all those courses. So the same organization sponsors the sponsors the technology and sponsors the regulation, and they jam in the country. Why won't they speak the same language? Is that not why we are seeing OFAB and the rest of them cutting the NBMA? We complained about it in the hearing just today. We attended the 7th annual conference of the Biosafety Organization in this country 2 weeks ago, and all the speakers that spoke there are promoters of biotechnology. All. They were even marketing the next ones to come: cassava, potato, and tomatoes. They were marketing it in that conference. So when the biosafety, NBMA, who is supposed to be the regulators, and now the goalkeeper, they are the header and they are the striker, Who are supposed to regulate it? I mean, it's a lost cause, and that's the reason why we're here. So you ask if we are being sponsored. You check it. What product do we have that we are selling?
Aside from that, to answer you directly, we are not being sponsored. I'm a professor, a Nigerian from Benue State, the food basket. And for the singular reason that the basket is becoming empty, it's enough cost if this country invested in training me. In my PhD, I studied up to UK, only to come and fold my hands and watch the soil destroyed with chemicals that have been promoted by genetically modified organisms in the name of agriculture. No, we are not being sponsored. Like my colleague has said, we are from the Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research. The mandate of our center is to investigate these things, to research those things. And if we see these things, we have a duty, a national duty, and that is actually the mandate of true science, not procured science.
So to get it from them. The same way we lost our independence in energy, it's the same way we will lose our independence with food if we continue in this direction. So it's a business. And when you eat this food, you start getting sick. And what happens? You go to big pharma for your drugs, for your insulin and the rest of them. And what are you doing? You are putting money in the pocket of the same people who are sponsoring GMO. So it's a circle of profits for the people that are behind it.
And I think I gave the example on a case study on what's happened in Southern Africa. It's about population elimination, it's about making you sick, it's about attenuating your immunity, and then it's about capturing you economically to make you captive to their seeds that are going to attenuate your economy when you have to buy seeds at 60,000 euros a kg up to 400,000 euros a kg. That will disseminate our economies, and I think that is the most important thing that we have to understand. Remember, Europeans still want to control this continent. And if they can eliminate the populations like they eliminated the American Indian, then it's easy for them to take over the continent.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So to clarify the issue, although professors and the scientists who believe in Nigeria, who believes in our people, they've already stressed on sustainability, the health impact. But I want to speak specifically on the sovereignty of our nation. The direction this is headed to would lead us to become dependent on whoever produces this. And that is already a security threat. I believe we have a national security advisor who is tasked with the responsibility of securing the lives of Nigerians. Food security is a #1 priority for any country. And we have to secure our country. There are lots of young people who are very, very concerned about this. And as such, I would call on the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu. He stressed a couple of days ago, he said that terrorists are taking the president for granted. Please, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, rogue scientists are taking you for granted. And you have a reputation to uphold to. Rise to the occasion and speak for Nigerians. Thank you.
Okay, I love the House of Reps, like they were standing, for us. So the fight is on, and we are not stopping now. We are talking about the dangers of GMO food that was brought to us by Bill Gates. You have to hit the nail on the head. There is somebody championing it. If you don't talk about it, there is a mistake somewhere. And I believe that Minister of Agriculture is corrupt. I wanted to talk there, but of course, let me relax myself. I was boiling inside. Because you are defending something that you have not made research about. We don't have a laboratory that can actually check these things to say, this thing is safe for you to eat. Come on, man. These people are collecting money. They pocketed money, and that is why they are boldly standing and telling you that you can consume this. So please, let's make this fight our own and make sure that GMO food is rejected in Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this juncture,
to give all of you the basic information is not a single science. It's an eclectic science. My encounter with this science started when I was just finishing my postgraduate studies several years ago, maybe 40, 45, 50 years ago. In a course I took in recombinant chemistry. At that time, it had nothing to do with GMOs. Then I encountered colleagues who were in microbiology. It's a different kind of science. It has nothing to do with GMOs. So we thought. Then I started working, and then I had to attend a world conference in South Africa in the year 2000. It had nothing to do with GMOs. But today we are talking about GMOs. So to talk to journalists about GMOs, I will leave it to my colleagues here. But let me tell you that this is a battle that must be fought and won, because the overall long-term effects of consumption of GMO foods and the pattern of consumption, and whether you are going to create feeds from the food, whether you are going to transform the GMOs into LMOs, is a difficult concept to even convey to all of you here. But what I want you to know is that GMOs are time bombs. Time bombs, the cumulative effect of which over time is very, very, very severe, both on individuals, both on animals, both on the environment, both on the soil, and on all kinds of ecosystems that support the human race. Those who are proponents are not looking far enough to understand the great implications of all of this for the African continent and for my country, Nigeria, in particular. So join us in this battle of enlightening our governments to know that what they are having today is a very, very dangerous piece of product formulation that is being pushed by the international community to deal with your possible population that they are worried about. I will yield now to my colleagues. Thank you very much.
When you want to speak, the next speaker should.
Right, thank you so much for the region that started the issue of GMOs on the African continent. Oh, my name is Rutendo Matingarare. I am from Zimbabwe, but I live in South Africa. And I come from an organization that is called Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Movement. Now, the relevance of Southern Africa being involved in this particular meeting is that we are the victims of this GMO. And the reason we are victims is that South Africa was the first country on the African continent to accept GMOs. And when they accepted GMOs, they accepted it at an interesting time, 1979, when South Africa declared war on the entire SADC region in Africa, because they did not want these independent African countries to then liberate South Africa and remove apartheid. And as part of their strategy, they created what was called the National Defense Council. The National Defense Council then said we need to find ways to neutralize Africans and African populations, and we need to find how to do it utilizing business, military, and also science and genetics. They created an institution that is called SAGENE, or SA-Gene. SA-Gene was going to create genetic materials that were going to be used to attenuate African populations and to kill Africans. And that is where the strategy for genetic modification for South Africa came from, and that is also where the use of HIV that was injected in SADC was also created. Now, many of you would know that there's an institution called SIMA that has got commanders of that institution that have begun to admit that they deliberately injected HIV into Africans. But what they do not say is that they also decided to use genetic engineering on food and diseases to also affect Africans. And that's why you see that Southern Africa has the highest rate of HIV in the world. But not only that, they are the biggest users of genetically engineered foods. And Zimbabwe is an importer of this genetically engineered food. It has the highest cancer death rate in the world currently because of these GMOs that contain glyphosate and that are engineered to target certain ethnicities. And so we want you guys here in West Africa to understand that we coming from the area that still has the highest number of white people on this continent, understand that there's a weaponization of food, a weaponization of disease, and these are coming together to attenuate our immunity, to cause cancers in our bodies, and to allow these opportunistic infections and HIVs to affect us because our immunity has been compromised. And so before I finally finish, the attenuation of our immunity did not start only with these GMOs. It started with the hybrids before the GMOs. They come with less nutritional value. They come with certain elements and minerals that are missing. And now with the genetic engineering, they can actually remove entire nutrients out of the GMOs to attenuate. So we've been to court fighting companies that want to bring these GMOs. And we have gone and met judges that were not friendly because there were no policies in Southern Africa against these GMOs. Your parliament is currently sitting to make policies and framework. Do not waste this opportunity. Do not follow the direction that Southern Africa has gone because you do not want to see the HIV, cancers, and disease rate that we are finding. And then finally, you need to also understand that there's an economic cost to this. When you begin to use GMOs, you in Nigeria understand you eat most of your food from rural farmers. Rural farmers will not be able to grow those foods the moment they have to use seeds that cannot reproduce and patented seeds. And these patented seeds become more expensive over time once they've eliminated the natural seeds. We know this because Lima Grain did it in Europe. Lima Grain eliminated tomato seeds. After eliminating tomato seeds, they started selling tomato seeds, hybrid seeds, at 60,000 euros a kg, all the way up to 400,000 euros a kg. Can we afford here in Nigeria to have maize seeds sold at 60,000 euros a kg? Can we afford for the cost of seeds, a kg of seeds, to sell for the price of gold? We cannot. So we need to stop this food colonialism that is coming with dependency being created by these seeds that cannot reproduce, and continue to go back to our traditional seeds. Thank you so much.
All of us saw what played out at this hearing today. My message to the House of Reps is simple. Many people in this country have a strong perception that the National Assembly does not represent the interest of Nigerians. When they conclude this hearing, and when they are writing their reports, or when they are presenting it, I want them to use this as one opportunity to demonstrate that for once, they can stand up for the Nigerian people. What we witnessed today was partly an embarrassment, to say the least. That you saw supposed agencies of government, particularly the National Biosafety Management Agency. I don't know what the biosafety they are managing, by the way. Basically acting as the public relations experts of foreign interests that are trying to plant or pursue this GMO in our country. That all of us witness regulators acting as business consultants, right? Being more carried away by their decision to approve GMOs in our country than to prevent the impact of GMOs on Nigerians. This government must take it as a personal responsibility to immediately declare a policy of no to GMO. We would like to see, in the interim, while the argument is even going on, a national moratorium declared, that even if they are not convinced that the adverse effects, which majority of the experts have spoken eloquently to, are obvious, even if they still want to go ahead with the investigation, pending when they reach a conclusion, GMO distribution and circulation in Nigeria should be halted. And finally, I also must state clearly that we cannot be a conquered people in our country. Because there is not a perception that you can do to Nigerians whatever you want to do and nothing will happen. And that explains some of the institutional arrogance that we witness today. To the point that someone was so audacious to say it is better to eat and die than not to eat and die. For me, that should have been the end of the hearing. So, and the media must ask the committee why they did not insist that NAFDAC should be present today. And my position is that NAFDAC absence is not a coincidence. What NAFDAC did was technically to avoid having to go publicly in collusion with sister agencies. Because NAFDAC is supposed to be the national agency that guarantees the safety of what we all consume. But because NAFDAC has taken a position, okay, on the matter, we would like that position to be properly articulated, which is that GMOs is unsafe and Nigerians will not be used to put as a trial or as tools of experimentation. That is our position. That is my personal opinion on the matter. Thank you.
Fellow Africans, of course. My name is Professor Christopher Gamwa. I was raised, studied, and I'm working in Benue State, the food basket of Nigeria. I want to paint a scenario that we are facing. The historical precedence of the challenge of hunger on our continent, in Africa generally, and in Nigeria, has not been an issue of production. It has been an issue of distribution. Today, I come from Benue State, a food basket that is becoming empty, not because Benue people are not producing food, not because they don't have GMOs. It's because external and foreign interests have successfully, and I'm saying this boldly to the media and to Nigerians, because I'm a researcher, external interests that are interested in marketing, dumping GMOs, which are agents of mass destruction. These are biological weapons. I'm a professor of bioinorganic chemistry. They are pushing insecurity on our nation, sponsoring it clandestinely. And I challenge the national security apparatus to look deeply into, investigate into why our farmers can't go to farms, only to create a scenario of hunger to advertise genetically modified poisons. How many of you have read about COVID? COVID, which was SARS-CoV-2, emanated from a research that is generally known as gain of function research. Basically, that is what genetically modified organisms are in agriculture. They are gain of function research outcomes. That means these transgenes, they are transgenic, can be manipulated to do exactly what they have been manipulated to do. Number one, whereas our grandparents were having children, our mothers were having children 11, 12, 13, today young Nigerian girls marry and they are jumping from one fertility clinic to another, struggling to get pregnant. Today we have the incidence of juvenile diabetes on the rise. Today we have the incidence of young children, teenagers coming down with high blood pressure, cardiovascular issues. Today, autism is on the rise, and all this has been proven connected to GMOs and the chemicals that come with GMOs. Thank you. It is important that this country unanimously rise to say no to GMOs and encourage our legislators to place a complete ban on GMOs. Thank you.